Hey internet, Ark speaking. What is a shortcut? No, we're not doing that. But this is an important question I need to solve before I continue on doing stuff relating to my channel. Now you see, back in the olden days, in Mario Kart Wii, a shortcut was a clearly defined thing. It just specifically cut off a specific part of a track, very specifically. Now you may look at me and say, Ark, we still have those. Look at this shroom cut here. And yes, I will agree, this is a shortcut. You are cutting off a piece of the track that is specifically intended to shave time off of the traditional line. However, let's look at this. This is the Wario Stadium shortcut. I put in quotations. Where does the shortcut begin? Where does it end? Is the jumping part the shortcut? Well, in order to get to the jumping part, you have to do the trick before it. Is this part of the shortcut? Well, in order to get this trick, it's better to get the trick before that. Well, okay, so what about the trick before that? What about these two left and right tricks that get you onto this rail? What about the angle before that where you have to get on the wall? What about the wall before that? What about the two tricks that lead up to the first wall before the wall that you get on to do the two tricks, to do the two more tricks, to do the trick that you actually want to do? Also, who are we to say that this is the end of the shortcut? Let's say that you want to learn how to do the coin route on top of it after you do this first section. How do you disengage from this rail and then get the right alignment to get on this next wall, which then you climb up, get on another rail, go through the outer bounds, land on top of the post sign, go up the wall on the other side, go through the coin route, and get all the coins up on top. Also, if you've driven all the way up to this point, you might as well know that you're supposed to do a charge jump here on this upward ramp, and then right at this fence, you're supposed to trick left, go low, and it shoots you out faster and farther than you otherwise would if you just went off normal. And at this point, you're basically done with the entire track, so you might as well do one final turn and then do the whole thing all over again. At what point does it become no longer a shortcut, but rather just a faster alternative line? Think about it. If you go to a track and you just drive as you would, that would not be considered a fast line. However, if you had taken a faster, more optimal route around the track, you are still driving the track. And it would be wrong to say that you have taken a shortcut, but rather you are just doing the track faster. So what is a shortcut? Well, according to the Oxford Dictionary, a shortcut is simply a shorter alternative route, which technically means that any shorter path is still considered a shortcut. So I ask you again, is the Wario Stadium rails thing a shortcut? Or is it just another way to drive the track that's faster? I guess the question that I need to ask is, at what point does it no longer become a shortcut, but rather just the proper line that you're supposed to do? Let's look at another example. Let's go to GBR. We made a video about the GBR shortcut, and I did use the term shortcut, yes indeed. However, the video spans more than half of the track. It starts you all the way up near the clouds, and this entire string all the way to that last U-turn right before the glider ramp is where it cuts off, with the box method even advancing and going farther to the ramp itself. That is half of the track, and I was seriously considering when I was making this video, should I just explain how to drive the entire track? Because I basically already did half of the work, arguably the harder half. So all of this to say that from my, going crazy of how I'm going to classify these videos going forward, that's my problem to figure out. That has nothing to do with you guys. You guys can just sit back and enjoy the content, commenting and liking and subscribing and all that fun stuff. But this does bring up a discussion point, which I do want to make, which is that shortcuts in this game are very, very, very different compared to how they were in Mario Kart Wii. Mario Kart Wii, a shortcut can be broken down to a very distinctive part, like the Grumble Volcano Rock Hop. You don't have to go that far back into the track to explain how to do the specific shortcut. The Bowser's Castle Turn Skip, the Mushroom Gorge Gap Jump. It was very enclosed and very deliberate on the parts of the track that you were targeting. On top of this, most of these shortcuts were not intended. So I have heard the term unintended shortcut used, or non-Nintendo intended shortcut, when describing these, frankly, what are exploits. Mario Kart World doesn't really have that. Sure, getting onto a certain rail a certain way may be a little bit sketchy, especially with some of the weird physics involved with Mario Kart World, but they are intended to be driven on. They didn't put the rails there expecting that the rails wouldn't be used. No, they were a part of the track, and Nintendo knew exactly what they were doing when they put these puzzle pieces around. Even the Bowser's Castle cut, where you skip an entire turn by jumping clean across, that is a shortcut, I will give you that, but it was a feather shortcut. It was intended. Shortcuts don't have to be intentional, but we associate, as the Mario Kart scene, shortcuts being those crazy little tricks that you do to completely bypass a huge chunk of the track. And for those other things, like the Wario Stadium thing, we have a good word for it. It's called a strategy, or a strat. Now, I will still be using the term shortcut because shortcut sounds better on a title, and I need people to click videos. But at least you and I now know that the definition of the shortcut is very interesting and surprisingly complicated depending on which Mario Kart gamer you ask. Now, knowing my audience, some of you guys down in the comments are already beginning to type, if it's a split path, an alternative path, then yes, it is classified as a shortcut. All of those rails on Wario Stadiums are shortcuts because they're not the main path, it's a separate path. But I'm gonna throw this back to you guys. There are many tracks in many racing games that have forks, split paths. As a matter of fact, on Rainbow Road, many of the paths split left and right, with the right path almost always being faster. So would you say that going on the right path is a shortcut, or is it just the intended way to go? What about those tracks like Salty Speedway that has like 5 bajillion paths that you could go? Which one is the right path? Which one is the shortcut path? Is a faster path automatically a shortcut? Is the slow path automatically the main path? What if nobody takes the main path and everyone goes the faster route? Does it still, is everyone taking the shortcut, or is that just the normal line? You see where I'm going with this? There are shortcuts in this game, but a lot of the things that you guys are asking me to make videos on are not really shortcuts. They're more so just driving the track fast. So did I really have to spend the last 5 minutes explaining my quandary with what a shortcut is or isn't? No, it's frankly pointless, nobody cares. But it has been something I've been thinking about a lot when it comes to making these videos for you guys, because I've been getting a lot of requests on how to do the Wario Stadium shortcut, and I'm a little confused on which shortcut you guys are talking about. So all that to say, be careful next time you get on Mario Kart World, because you may click on a video that might be a little bit longer than a shortcut. And as always, thanks for watching. Shout out to Vsauce.